them, and I thought I'll see if I can grow another lettuce out of the root of it. So I left a couple of leaves on it, and after a few weeks, I've actually got sitting outside a lettuce tree,
You showed me that. It's amazing.
and it's now over a meter tall.
Oh my gosh.
I've never seen anything like it because although it has some lettuce leaves on the outside, it basically has taken on the appearance of a tree, and it started flowering.
I mean, it just goes. I mean, you showed me the picture, and I was just gobsmacked when I saw it. And we'll put it up on the forum just so people can realise that.
I'll take some recent photos because at the moment I'm looking at it going, I don't even know what the hell it is.
It's amazing.
But no, nutrition's a big thing, and a lot of governments would like to keep us dumbed down and basically unable to think for ourselves, and that comes from a place of being not nutritionally sound as well. If your body's not got enough nutrition, your brain's not working properly, you're not thinking straight, you don't have enough energy, you can't be bothered anyway, and you die quicker anyway, and you become dependent on all their drugs and pharmaceuticals because they just want to keep you kind of on the edge of being dead. Would be good so that they can keep feeding you with all of these chemicals or chemical therapy, or as they like to call it chemotherapy because it kind of disguises the fact that it's chemicals.
Yep.
And chemicals can't be good for a natural living being. I don't see how the two of them can interface.
Well, I mean, simply they're not. They can't possibly help us. They just restrict us. And I mean, that's a whole other topic that we could go into.
It is
so fascinating, and is such a massive issue in our world right now.
It is. One thing that I will get around to typing out and posting on your forum, Adam, is the diet and the things that I used to actually cure my dad, who had he had basically a very, very aggressive lymphoma cancer of the neck last year, and the doctor had given him 3 months to live. And I said, well, but they wanted to give him chemotherapy, and he's 84. And I said, for God's sake, what are you talking about? It's just crazy. Do you know even why he has cancer or where the cancer has come from? They're not interested in the cause of it. They're only interested in in what they're looking at. Okay, I can see cancer, so I've got to give it some chemicals. And I said, look, I know for a fact that my dad's been eating white bread all of his life and doesn't eat very well. He's smoked all of his life. And I said, so it's most likely that the cancer came from candida. And because candida is basically a fungus, we can treat that with a whole lot of things. And so for 3 months, I put him on a diet, and he's completely cured now.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I mean,
whereas if they'd given him treatments of chemotherapy, the chemotherapy would have killed him. The cancer wouldn't have killed him.
A lot of people don't realize that with the cancer side of things, most people think, cancer just sprung up all of a sudden. I've been sent so many documentaries now that have shown me that cancer. I mean, we have cancer cells in our body right now, and it's only it only just starts to show at the age of 40. Just where it gets unbearable. I mean, we are literally eating cancerous food, since the age of bloody 3, and it just builds up and builds up and builds up, and that's what causes the real cancer to show. But none of these things should be in our bodies, and the only reason they are is because no one is educated enough to not feed their children this kind of food and get us hooked on it in the first place.
I see parents all the time feeding their kids Coca-Cola, and it frightens the hell out of them. And if anybody has seen or heard any of Ian Lungold's talks, I would highly recommend. I'm just typing in now his website. If anybody gets a chance to have a listen to what he's got to say, I think you'll be very surprised, because he talks about the Mayan calendar and the 360-day cycle not being anything to do with the movement of the sun or the planets, but the Mayans were actually tracking the evolution of consciousness on this planet from 16.4 billion years ago until 2012. And it's getting faster and faster and faster. And it's not that time is speeding up. It's that our consciousness is actually speeding up. I see kids being born every day who I look at them and I think, these kids are smart. And certainly, we have a 4-year-old who runs circles around me.
I mean, it's amazing what's happening. In the last 3 years, you just look at how many people have started to switch onto this kind of information and start to realize that something is afoot in their everyday lives. It's growing rapidly. Every single day, there's just, hundreds more people coming to my website. Thousands more people are going to some fantastic sites like the Love for Life website, the Crow House. Just people just pouring into this information around Australia and around the world because they're starting to wake up.
That's right.
All right, we're going to go to the questions now. I believe Grant has a question. I'm just going to unmute him and see what he has to say. 1 second.
Hi, Grant.
G'day, Thomas. Look, mate, I think you answered my question before in the chat, but I've got a few friends listening, that aren't in the chat. I was wondering, mate, is it possible to be in a common law jurisdiction, not barred by any statutes, with a notice of understanding and intent and a claim of right, also have the properly filed fee schedule so that any police that violate your rights and take away your liberty or make you act under protest and duress, you're able to charge them a bill and activate a fee schedule when this happens?
Sure. I mean, that's one thing that we're all looking at now in this sort of truth movement and free man sort of movement. We're all at that stage now where we're all drafting and creating these notices of standing, because it's something that has come up and that we're all basically trying to get our heads around at the moment. One thing that I would say is that I would not be putting out anything that said a notice of understanding, because understanding means to take a legal position below somebody else. And so that, if the judge asks you, do you understand, he's actually asking you if you will stand below him in a legal sense. And so, no, it would have to be a notice of standing. And but yes, I believe that it's probably the right way to go. In terms of the fee schedule, to answer that part of the question, what we're sort of finding out is that a lot of these people in departments who deal with these letters at the front line, I'm talking about the people who actually receive them, the clerks and whoever else, they haven't got a clue what we're talking about. I've had registrars of the court just scrawl a big blue line right through the front of my document when I've taken it up for them to sign. And I think, hang on, how can you possibly just, wipe out my document that I've just come up here and asked you to stamp, But it just comes down to either ignorance or arrogance or unwillingness to cooperate, or just plain old, not knowing. And so what we have to do is actually address them on a different level. And one of those things that I'm looking at now is once you've completed, let's say, for example, you've completed a notice of default, and you've done, say, a notary protest or done a default process on somebody who's doing you wrong. Once you've got those documents in place, you can actually take out what's known as a commercial lien on these on the private beings. Now, remember, we can't talk to the dead, as I was saying to you before, but we can go after the private being. So that would be the private being doing business as the public servant. Okay, so you actually go after them, the person who is doing you harm.
Okay,
and activating the fee schedule, I think, is a good way to have a notice of standing, because anytime that you've got documents in place, whether it's an affidavit or whatever, I mean, affidavits are very powerful because they're actually saying to the court or to whoever, it's like the only way that you can rebut an affidavit is point by point, okay, with another affidavit. Otherwise, the affidavit stands as law. An unrebutted affidavit stands as law. And so I use affidavits all the time. And once you establish those documents and you get them notarized, it's possible to get a greater lever on these people, on these fictions. But what I do say to a lot of people who come to me with claims and say, look, I've got to go to court, and I say, well, why are you going to court? Because people don't realize that you don't have to go to court. If you do your process right, and if you address all of these claims or presentments the right way, and that's within 3 days and with the right documents, you can